Do you want to be true to what you think Tolkien was probably imagining? Or do you want to be true to what Tolkien said about the world?
Hello, and I've got another slightly foreboding video for you here, because Corey Olsen has come out and
What's
said
the
this.
deal with everyone saying that
let's just have a
dwarven
listen
women
here.
are meant to have beards? Is that from the books?
It's like a bizarre fan fascination. Tolkien never says dwarven women have beards.
Corey Olsen.
You tell me has betrayed us. Our list of allies grows thin.
Never is a strong word, Mr. Corey Olsen, Tolkien expert and professor at the Signum University, because right here I have one of these lesser known texts called The Lord of the Rings Return of the King. And if you come down here to the appendices of this, which is one of the texts in their rights package, it says that they are in voice and appearance, they being dwarf women, and in garb if they must go on journey, so like to the dwarf men that the eyes and ears of other peoples cannot tell them apart. Or perhaps even a better one, for the Naugrim have beards from the beginning of their lives, male and female alike, nor indeed can their womankind be discerned by those of other race.
Tolkien never says dwarven women have beards.
Now, why is that unfortunate? Well, Corey Olsen, as I said, many of you might already know who he is. He goes in excessive detail, like an hour per page for his chapter breakdowns of The Lord of the Rings. This guy knows his stuff, and yet he's choosing to ignore this text that he ponders over for hours at a time to come out and say for a publication such as IGN here, something that is just not true and something that he knows is not true. Intellectual dishonesty. Why would he say this? Has he just been given a lump sum of money by the powers that be to endorse this show and to appeal to his audience, which might be some of those that are up in arms, particularly in the respect the law community?
Touching on those things, but not really focused on those things at all.
Now, I'm not going to go through the entire video that we've got here, but I will just show a few more clips.
So I love Action Galadriel.
I'm going to have to stop you right there, mate. There's just no way that he can be this happy about something that hasn't been mentioned in the books. Sure, you can be enthusiastic, but I question his motives just based on that intro segment that they had in this video.
Tolkien never says dwarven women have beards.
He's got similar views on the hobbits. Sure, let's add a clip of that.
The first thing that I was amazed by with this is all of the buildup, of course, for the trailer and for the TV show, mostly elves. Well, elves and Numenor, right? Instead, we get the perspective of a Middle-earth hobbit perspective. So the opportunity to get to see hobbits in the Second Age, that's a lot of fun.
It sounds like he is literally going through all the discrepancies that some of his fans have had. They're just using his credibility to appease the fans. And there is a word for that, and it's called shilling, because he knows better. He's all on one side. He is completely biased, and you kind of question, like, why is he so biased? Like, he's saying absolutely nothing bad about it at all, and it comes across as gaslighting. And this entire show is... it's metaphor time. Is it just going to be a magnificent palace with this humongous budget, and it's going to be built on sand? They're going to oust their former fans of the legendarium, of the mythology, and they're going to welcome all these casual fans who might tune in for season 1, realize it's just another fantasy show, and, you know, something like Cursed on Netflix, by the way, cancelled after 1 season. Wouldn't recommend watching it. It's kind of and they're not going to return. And the people that are into it, into Lord of the Rings, they are being basically called blasphemous for saying anything. And Corey Olsen is now, he has turned to the dark side almost. I did say that I wouldn't make too many points on this video, but I'm going to have to.
So Minas Tirith is about the latitude of central Italy, and Umbar, the city down in the south where the Southrons come from, is about the latitude of Carthage. So that means that Dal Amroth down on the southern shore of Gondor would have been about the latitude of like Morocco, southern Spain, perhaps. Do you want to be true to what you think Tolkien was probably imagining? Or do you want to be true to what Tolkien said about the world? Tolkien never says dwarven women have beards. And again, Numenor is on the equator. So when we meet the Numenorians, in theory, they will have been a culture living on the equator for thousands of years. I see no reason to think, based, from Tolkien's story, that they should be Viking-looking white folks.
An interesting argument to actually say that the latitude of Numenor was on the same level as North Africa. However, the people in North Africa would look a little bit different than the Numenorians if we are equating real life situs to Middle Earth. And the reason why is because we know who lived on Numenor. These were the descendants of the Edain who fought and died in Beleriand. These are the remnants of those people, and we know exactly what they would have looked like. And that is detailed in the Silmarillion, and Corey Olsen would be well aware of that. So these people aren't indigenous, and they have then come to this island, and those are all of the people that would live on the island. We know exactly what they would look like. They would not look like North Africans. Now, there's a point of evolution because they were there for almost 3,500 years, you would think. But of course, Numenorians, they lived lifespans thrice the length of us lot, basically. And those of the royal line would have lived a little bit longer. Now, if we look at our own world of humans, how much evolution has actually occurred during the last 2,000 years? Well, if you have a look at like maybe the size of the cranial shape, like our brains and our heads might have increased. Okay, we might have got a bit taller, but that's purely down to our greater access to nutrition and all of the developments in science. However, if we go back to Numenor, the Numenorians, their civilization hasn't really leveled up to the same extent as our civilization has leveled up, particularly even in the last 1,000 years, because their peak was actually probably right at the formation of their territory. They were taught by gods. The Maiar came to their realm and taught them things like medicine and like a whole bunch of other things. Pretty much exactly the same education that the elves would have got from the Valar when they went to Valinor. So that argument doesn't really hold water. Corey Olsen would know this because he has read the text. So again, it's just disappointing to hear him trying to equate these things, which we just know that aren't true.
That at the beginning of the Second Age, in other words, right around where this series is taking place, Galadriel is the mortal equivalent of 21. Whereas in the Third Age, when we meet her in The Lord of the Rings, when we meet Cate Blanchett, Galadriel, she is 54 in mortal equivalence. She's a senior statesman beginning to contemplate retirement. So I like this.
Obviously, he likes it. But Galadriel is not 54. She's like 8,500 years old at the end of the Third Age. And to say that she's like 50, whatever, okay, sure. But you can't then say that a 2,000-year-old woman at the beginning of the Second Age is 21. Because that would assume then that, well, okay, I mean, she's 2,000 years old. A year is still a year. You still learn the things that you can during a year, and there's 2,000 years of them. And also, in that same mindset, how can Elrond then be portrayed as a politician in the Second Age when that guy is just fresh out of the womb? He shouldn't even be allowed to vote, let alone be on the floor chatting away, unless he's Greta Thunberg. But even then, he's not actually going to be old enough to be 14, according to this maturity level thing. A fandom, you know, they love a product, and all they want to have is more of that product. So when they don't get it, they're going to be annoyed. And it's unfortunate that right now, as it looks, there might be some discrepancies there. But as I say, I will remain optimistic. But thank you very much for watching. Good day.